They say death brings out both the best and worst in families. In my case, it exposed 30 years of lies that would shatter everything we thought we knew about blood, loyalty, and what it truly means to be family. I'm Alexandra Morgan, Alex to my friends, and until 6 months ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. The only daughter of real estate mogul Richard Morgan and his first wife, Helen. My mother died when I was young, and my father later married Catherine, bringing my stepsister Victoria into our lives when I was 10. From the beginning, Victoria and I were like oil and water. While I inherited my father's practical business sense and my mother's quiet determination, Victoria was all flash and drama, taking after her mother Catherine's flair for social climbing and status games. Growing up in our sprawling Chicago mansion, it was clear that Catherine had plans for Victoria to become the true Morgan heir. Despite my father's protests, she sent Victoria to the most exclusive private schools, arranged strategic friendships with other wealthy families, and constantly reminded everyone that Victoria was truly her father's daughter. A dig at my quieter, more studious nature. But my father and I had our own bond, built on Sunday morning chess games and long talks about business strategy. By 25, I was already helping him manage Morgan properties, learning every aspect of the family business while Victoria flitted between modeling gigs and failed fashion ventures, burning through trust fund money like water. "You're just like your mother," Dad would say proudly, watching me pore over property assessments and market analyses. She always could see the true value in things beyond the surface shine. I didn't know then how prophetic those words would become. The first signs of Dad's illness appeared last spring. Slight tremors in his usually steady hands, moments of confusion during our business meetings, headaches he tried to hide. The diagnosis hit like a thunderbolt. Glioblastoma, aggressive and inoperable. 6 months to a year, the doctors said, their voices gentle but final. I immediately moved back into the family home to help care for him, putting my own life on hold. Victoria, meanwhile, was conspicuously absent, too busy with a yacht trip in the Mediterranean to be bothered with her dying father. But everything changed when Dad's oncologist mentioned that experimental treatments might buy him another year. Suddenly, Victoria materialized at his bedside, all tears and devoted daughter act. "Daddy," she cooed, adjusting his pillows and dispensing his medications with theatrical precision. "I just couldn't bear to see you suffering before. But now I'm here, and your real daughter is going to take care of everything." I watched from the doorway as she played her role perfectly, reminiscing about childhood memories that I knew were mine, not hers, skillfully rewriting our family history with herself as the devoted daughter and me as the cold, absent one focused only on business. The worst part? It worked. The brain tumor affected Dad's memory, making him increasingly confused about the past. Victoria took full advantage, gradually convincing him that she was the one who'd spent weekends learning the business, who'd shared his passion for chess, who'd earned his trust. "Alex," he said one afternoon, his voice uncertain, "why haven't you been around more?" "Victoria says you're always too busy with work to visit." My protests fell on deaf ears. How could I convince him that she was lying when his own memories were becoming unreliable? Victoria had perfectly timed her manipulation to coincide with his cognitive decline. Catherine, of course, enabled and encouraged every moment of Victoria's performance. I catch them whispering together after Dad's doctor's visits, Victoria making notes on her phone while Catherine nodded approvingly. Looking back, I should have known they were plotting something bigger than just turning Dad against me. The truth came out 3 weeks before he died. I arrived for my usual morning visit to find Victoria sitting smugly in Dad's study, Catherine standing behind her like a proud general who'd just won a decisive battle. "Oh, good you're here," Victoria smiled, waving a thick legal document. "Daddy just signed his new will." He finally realized which daughter truly deserves the Morgan legacy. My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about? Dad's in no condition to be signing legal documents." "The lawyers verified he's competent enough," Catherine cut in smoothly. "Your father simply decided to make things right. After all, Victoria is his real daughter in every way that matters." I pushed past them into Dad's room. He was sleeping, his face gaunt and pale against the pillows. The once powerful man who'd built an empire from nothing now looked small and fragile, swimming in his silk pajamas. "What did you do?" I demanded, turning back to Victoria. "What lies did you tell him?" She examined her perfectly manicured nails, the picture of calculated innocence. I simply helped him remember how things really are. About my special bond with him, about how you've always been jealous of our connection, and about your mother. Don't you dare talk about my mother. Your mother, she continued, her voice dripping with false sympathy, who everyone knows was just after Daddy's money, unlike my mother, who stood by him for 20 years. Blood tells, Alex, and I'm a true Morgan. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to force her to admit what she'd done. But one look at Dad's exhausted face kept me quiet. He needed peace now, not family warfare. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of hospice nurses, morphine drips, and whispered conversations in hospital corridors. Victoria maintained her devoted daughter act, but as soon as Dad's eyes closed, the mask would slip and I'd catch her triumphant smirk. Dad died on a quiet Tuesday morning. I was holding his hand, telling him about a new property acquisition I'd secured, when he suddenly squeezed my fingers and whispered, "The chess set. Remember the chess set, Alex?" Then he was gone. I barely had time to process my grief before Victoria launched into action. Within hours, she contacted the family lawyer, demanding an immediate will reading. "No point in dragging these things out," she said breezily, already referring to Dad's office as her new workspace. The morning of the funeral, I was going through Dad's personal items when I found an old letter from my mother, dated just before her death. The contents made my heart stop. But before I could process what I'd read, Victoria appeared in the doorway. "Time to go watch Daddy be laid to rest," she announced, "and time for everyone to learn who his true heir is." As we drove to the cemetery, the letter burned in my purse like a lit fuse. I thought about the chess set Dad had mentioned in his final moments, the one that had been mysteriously missing from his study for weeks. And I thought about what the letter revealed, secrets that would soon turn Victoria's perfect plan upside down. The days following Dad's funeral passed in a haze of grief and tension. Victoria wasted no time moving into the mansion's master suite, while Catherine began reorganizing Dad's office, shredding documents and clearing out filing cabinets with suspicious efficiency. I focused on running Morgan Properties, throwing myself into work to avoid thinking about the upcoming will reading. But Dad's final words about the chess set haunted me, along with the shocking contents of my mother's letter. The letter was clear. Before her death, my mother had discovered something that would shake the foundations of the Morgan family. She'd left the proof in a hidden compartment of Dad's prized antique chess set, the same one Victoria and Catherine had mysteriously moved for safekeeping weeks ago. I hired a private investigator, Michael Chen, to track down the missing chess set. They've been making regular trips to a storage facility in Lake Forest. He reported after a week of surveillance. "Your stepsister accessed it yesterday carrying what looked like an ornate wooden box." The will reading was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a crisp autumn morning. I'd arrived early at Stanley Hawthorne's law office, my mother's letter secure in my bag. Victoria and Catherine swept in fashionably late, dressed in designer black like wealthy widows in a noir film. "Let's get this over with," Victoria said, settling into a leather chair like it was already her throne. "We all know what the will says." Stanley Hawthorne, Dad's lawyer for 30 years, adjusted his reading glasses with steady hands. "Actually, Victoria, there are several documents to review today. Your father was very thorough in his final instructions." Victoria's smug smile faltered slightly. "What do you mean, several documents? He just signed the new will 3 weeks ago." "Indeed he did," Stanley agreed, removing a thick envelope from his desk safe. "But Richard also left specific instructions about the order in which certain items should be revealed, including," he held up a sealed DNA test result, "this." The color drained from Catherine's face. "DNA test? That's absurd. Richard never mentioned." "He arranged it privately," Stanley continued, using samples collected during his hospital stays. "He was quite insistent about having the results ready for today." Victoria laughed, but there was a nervous edge to it. "This is ridiculous. Everyone knows I'm Daddy's real daughter. Just read the will." "Very well." Stanley opened the first document. The last will and testament of Richard Morgan, dated 3 weeks ago. "I, Richard Morgan, being of sound mind." He paused, looking at Victoria. "Do hereby bequeath my entire estate, including all properties, assets, and controlling interest in Morgan Properties, to my daughter Victoria Morgan Wells." Victoria's triumphant squeal echoed through the office. but Stanley held up his hand. However, this bequest is contingent upon the contents of this DNA test and the additional documents your father prepared. He opened the sealed envelope slowly, reviewing its contents with practiced neutrality. According to these results, Victoria Morgan Wells has a 0% genetic match to Richard Morgan. You are not, in fact, his biological daughter. The silence that followed was absolute. Victoria sat frozen, her perfectly made-up face a mask of shock. Catherine swayed in her chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. That's impossible, Catherine whispered. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake, I said quietly, pulling out my mother's letter. Mom discovered the truth before she died. That's why you always hated her, isn't it, Catherine? Because she knew about your affair with Thomas Wells. Victoria's head snapped up. Thomas Wells? My mother's ex-husband. Your real father, I confirmed. Mom found letters between them, proof of their relationship. She confronted Dad about it right before her accident. Catherine's composure finally broke. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. Thomas and I. It was before I married Richard. When I discovered I was pregnant, Thomas wanted nothing to do with us. Richard, he agreed to raise Victoria as his own. Victoria stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. You told me Thomas abandoned us, that he was a nobody who ran off to Europe. You've been lying to me my entire life. I did it for you, Catherine cried. Richard could give us the life we deserved. Status, money, everything I wanted for you. If I may continue, Stanley interrupted, his voice cutting through the chaos. There are still several documents to review. He pulled out another envelope, this one marked with Dad's distinctive handwriting, to be opened only after the DNA results. My dearest Alex, Stanley read, if you're hearing this, then the DNA test has confirmed what your mother discovered all those years ago. Helen came to me with proof of Catherine's deception, believing I would divorce her immediately. But I had already grown to love Victoria as my own daughter, despite knowing she wasn't mine biologically. I couldn't bear to shatter her world. Victoria sank back into her chair, tears streaming down her face. However, Stanley continued reading. Recent events have shown me that while blood doesn't determine family, character and truth do. Victoria and Catherine's actions during my illness, their manipulation, their lies, their cruelty toward you, have proven they never truly understood what it means to be a Morgan. Therefore, I hereby revoke the will signed 3 weeks ago, which I executed only to reveal the true nature of those around me. My final, legally binding will is stored in the hidden compartment of my chess set, along with evidence of Catherine's affair and subsequent deceptions. Alex, my true daughter in every way that matters, you always knew how to see beyond surface appearances. The chess set is your inheritance and your key to the truth. I reached into my bag and withdrew the antique chess set I'd retrieved from the storage facility that morning. Victoria gasped. How did you? A good businesswoman always has contingency plans, I said, opening the hidden compartment built into the chess set's base. Inside lay another will, dated just 1 week before Dad's death, along with a stack of old letters and photographs. Stanley reviewed the documents quickly, then nodded. This will is legally binding and properly witnessed. It leaves the entire Morgan estate to Alexandra, with a small provision for Victoria's living expenses contingent upon her severing all ties with Catherine. Victoria turned to her mother, 30 years of lies finally clear in her mind. You used me, my whole life. You used me to get what you wanted. Vicky, please. Catherine reached for her daughter, but Victoria jerked away. Don't touch me. You made me believe I was someone I'm not. Made me hate Alex because you were afraid she'd expose your lies. I can't even look at you. Victoria turned to me, tears streaking her expensive mascara. Alex, I'm so sorry for everything. I really thought. You thought you were protecting your place in the family. I finished for her. I understand better than anyone how manipulative Catherine can be. What happens now? Victoria asked quietly. I study my stepsister, know my sister, because Dad was right. Blood doesn't make a family. Now we honor Dad's real legacy. Not the money or the properties, but his capacity for forgiveness and his belief in second chances. I turned to Catherine. You need to leave. Today. The provision in Dad's will gives you enough to live on. But you'll never have access to Morgan properties or the family assets again. Catherine opened her mouth to protest. But 30 years of lies had finally caught up with her. She gathered her designer purse and left without another word, her clicking heels fading down the hallway. Victoria stood awkwardly, clearly unsure of her place in this new reality. I should go too. Actually, I said, I could use help reviewing the Robinson development proposal. If you're interested in learning the business. For real this time. Her eyes widened. You give me a chance. After everything. Dad believed in second chances, I reminded her. And he loved you, Victoria. Biology didn't matter to him. What mattered was honesty, integrity, and the choice to do better once you know the truth. 6 months later, Victoria and I sat in what was now my office, reviewing quarterly reports. She'd thrown herself into learning the business with genuine enthusiasm, free from Catherine's toxic influence and social climbing schemes. The antique chess set sat on my desk, a reminder of Dad's wisdom and final gift to us both, not just the inheritance, but the truth that set us free to become real sisters at last. Want to grab lunch? Victoria asked, closing her laptop. I found this great little Italian place, nowhere near any of Mom's old society haunts. I smiled, remembering Dad's words about seeing beyond surface appearances. Sounds perfect. But first, want to learn how to play chess? Dad always said it teaches you to think several moves ahead. Victoria grinned, helping me set up the pieces. He also said you were just like your mother, able to see the true value in things. And people, I added softly, watching my sister, my real sister, in all the ways that truly mattered, make her first move on the board. Sometimes the most valuable inheritance isn't money or property, but the truth that sets us free and the wisdom to know what really makes a family. Dad knew that all along. Looking back, I think that's why he chose to reveal everything through the chess set, teaching us one final lesson about strategy, patience, and the ultimate victory of truth over deception. Victoria and I still have a lot to learn about business and about being sisters. But we're building something real now, on a foundation of honesty instead of lies. And somewhere, I think Dad is smiling, watching his 2 daughters finally playing chess together.